As Swami Vivekananda's European chapter draws to a close, he faces profound personal decisions and reflections. From heartfelt advice to devoted students to a poignant farewell, join us as we witness the closing of one era and the stirring beginnings of another. Welcome back to our series on the remarkable life of Swami Vivekananda. In today's episode, we explore his deep connections with his American followers, the challenging decisions of his students, and the poignant moments leading up to his return to India. Discover how Vivekananda's guidance and final European moments set the stage for a transformative new chapter in his mission. Despite the rush of his European work, Swami Vivekananda maintained his contact with America. He took a personal interest in the spiritual development of his students. The affectionate relationship of the Swami with the Hale family of Chicago has been mentioned before, especially with the 4 unmarried girls. Hearing of the proposed marriage of Harriet, he wrote to her on September 17, 1896, "Marriage is the truest goal for 99% of the human race, and they will live the happiest life as soon as they have learnt and are ready to abide by the eternal lesson that we are bound to bear and forbear, and that to everyone life must be a compromise." He sent the young lady his blessings in these terms: "May you always enjoy the undivided love of your husband, helping him in attaining all that is desirable in this life, and when you have seen your children's children, and the drama of life is nearing its end, may you help each other in reaching that infinite ocean of existence, knowledge, and bliss, at the touch of whose waters all distinctions melt away and we all become one." But Mary Hale could not make a decision between marriage and lifelong celibacy. She was full of idealism and the spirit of independence, but she was warm in her affection. Swami Vivekananda was particularly fond of Mary. On the day he wrote to Harriet, he also wrote to Mary, congratulating Harriet for her discrimination and prophesying for her a life of joy and sweetness, since she was not so imaginative and sentimental as to make a fool of herself, and has enough of common sense and gentleness to soften the hard points of life which must come to everyone. But he wanted to tell Mary the truth, and my language is plain. He wrote, "My dear Mary, I will tell you a great lesson I have learnt in this life. It is this: the higher your ideal is, the more miserable you are, for such a thing as an ideal cannot be attained in the world, or in this life even. He who wants perfection in the world is a madman, for it cannot be. How can you find the infinite in the finite? You, Mary, are like a mettlesome Arab, grand, splendid. You would make a splendid queen. Physically, mentally, you would shine alongside of a dashing, bold, adventurous, heroic husband. But, my dear sister, you will make one of the worst wives. You will take the life out of our easygoing, practical, plodding husbands of the everyday world. Mind, my sister, although it is true that there is much more romance in actual life than in any novel, yet it is few and far between. Therefore, my advice to you is that until you bring down your ideals to a more practical level, you ought not to marry. If you do, the result will be misery for both of you. In a few months, you will lose all regard for a commonplace, good, nice young man, and then life will become insipid. There are 2 sorts of persons in the world: the one strong-nerved, quiet, yielding to nature, not given to much imagination, yet good, kind, sweet, etc. For such is this world. They alone are born to be happy. There are others, again, with high-strung nerves, tremendously imaginative, with intense feeling, always going high and coming down the next moment. For them there is no happiness. The first class will have almost an even tenor of happiness. The second will have to run between ecstasy and misery. But of these alone, what we call geniuses are made. There is some truth in a recent theory that genius is a sort of madness. Now, persons of this class, if they want to be great, must fight to be so, clear the deck for battle. No encumbrance, no marriage, no children, no undue attachment to anything except the one idea, and live and die for that. I am a person of this sort. I have taken up the one idea of Vedanta, and I have cleared the deck for action. You and Isabel are made of this metal, but let me tell you, Though it is hard, you are spoiling your lives in vain. Either take up one idea, clear the deck, and to it dedicate the life, or be contented and practical, lower the ideal, marry and have a happy life. Either boga or yoga, either enjoy this life or give up and be a yogi. None can have both in one, now or never. Select quick. He who is very particular gets nothing, says the proverb, now sincerely and really and forever, determined to clear the deck for the fight. Take up anything, philosophy or science or religion or literature, and let that be your God for the rest of your life. Achieve happiness or achieve greatness. I have no sympathy with you and Isabel. You are neither for this nor for that. I wish to see you happy, as Harriet is, or great. Eating, drinking, dressing, and society nonsense are not things to throw away a life upon, especially for you, Mary. You are rusting away a splendid brain and abilities for which there is not the least excuse. You must have ambition to be great. I know you will take these rather harsh remarks from me in the right spirit, knowing I like you really as much as or more than what I call you, my sister. I had long had a mind to tell you this, and as experience is gathering, I feel like telling you. The joyful news from Harriet urged me to tell you this. I will be overjoyed to hear that you are married also, and happy so far as happiness can be had here, or would like to hear of your doing great deeds. Mary Hale later married a gentleman from Florence and became known as Madame Matani. For some time, the Swami had been feeling an inner urge to return to India. From Switzerland, he wrote to friends in India, "Do not be afraid. Great things are going to be done, my children. Take heart. In the winter, I am going back to India and will try to set things on their feet there. Work on. Brave hearts fail not. No saying nay. Work on. The Lord is behind the work. Mahashakti, the great power, is with you." On November 29, 1896, he wrote to a disciple in India about his proposed Himalayan monastery. He further said that his present plan was to start 2 centers, one in Madras and the other in Kolkata, and later others in Bombay and Allahabad. He was pleased to see that the magazine Brahmavardin, published in English in Madras, was disseminating his ideas. He was planning to start similar magazines in the vernaculars also. He also intended to start a paper under the management of writers from all nations in order to spread his ideas to every corner of the globe. "You must not forget," he wrote, "that my interests are international and not Indian alone." Swami Vivekananda could no longer resist the voice of India calling him back. Sometime during the middle of November, after a class lecture, he called Mrs. Sevier aside and quietly asked her to purchase 4 tickets for India. He planned to take with him the Seviers and Mr. Goodwin. Reservations were accordingly made on the Prince Regent Luitpold of the North German Liliod steamship line, sailing from Naples for Ceylon on December 16, 1896. The Seviers wanted to lead a retired life in India, practicing spiritual disciplines and helping the Swami in carrying out the idea of building a monastery in the Himalayas. Faithful Goodwin, who had already taken the vows of a brahmacharin, would work as the Swami's stenographer. It was also planned that Miss Moller and Miss Noble would follow the party sometime after, the latter to devote her life to the cause of women's education in India. The Swami was given a magnificent farewell by his English friends, devotees and admirers on December 13th at the Royal Society of Painters in Watercolours in Piccadilly. There were about 500 people present. Many were silent, tongue-tied and sad at heart. Tears were very near in some eyes, but the Swami, after his farewell address, walked among the assembled friends and repeated over and over again, "Yes, yes, we shall meet again, we shall." It was decided that Swami Abhedananda would continue the work after the Swami's departure. Of the impressions left by the Swami's teachings in England, Margaret Noble writes, "To not a few of us the words of Swami Vivekananda came as living water to men perishing of thirst. Many of us have been conscious for years, past of that growing uncertainty and despair. with regard to religion, which has beset the intellectual life of Europe for half a century. Belief in the dogmas of Christianity has become impossible for us, and we had no tool, such as now we hold, by which to cut away the doctrinal shell from the kernel of reality in our faith. To these, the Vedanta has given intellectual confirmation and philosophical expression of their own mistrusted intuitions. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. It was the Swami's "I am God" that came as something always known, only never said before. Yet again, it was the unity of man that was the touch needed to rationalize all previous experiences and give logical sanction to the thirst for absolute service. Never boldly avowed in the past, some by one gate and some by another, we have all entered into a great heritage, and we know it. The practical Englishman saw in the Swami's life the demonstration of fearlessness, which was the necessary corollary of his teaching regarding the divinity of the soul. It was revealed in many incidents. One in particular illustrates this. He was one day walking with Miss Muller and an English friend across some fields when a mad bull came tearing towards them. The Englishman frankly ran and reached the other side of the hill in safety. Miss Muller ran as far as she could and then sank to the ground, incapable of further effort. Seeing this and unable to aid her, the Swami, thinking, "So this is the end after all," took up his stand in front of her with folded arms. He told afterwards how his mind was occupied with a mathematical calculation as to how far the bull would be able to throw him. But the animal suddenly stopped a few paces off, and then, raising its head, retreated sullenly. The Englishman felt ashamed of his cowardly retreat and of having left the Swami alone to face the bull. Miss Muller asked the Swami how he could muster courage in such a dangerous situation. He said that in the face of danger and death he felt, and he took 2 pebbles in his hands and struck the one against the other. "As strong as flint, for I have touched the feet of God." He had shown a like courage in his early boyhood when he quickly stepped up to drag away a child who was about to be trampled under a horse's feet in a street of Kolkata. In our next episode, we continue with Swami Vivekananda's profound reflections on his experiences, his changing perceptions of the English, and his growing detachment from worldly pursuits. Join us as we explore the final stages of his European journey and the deep spiritual realizations that are guiding him towards a new chapter. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.